Hello everyone. What's going on, guys? It's me, and we got a different video today. And I know I was gonna stick to Destiny content for the sake of consistency and my channel, but trust me, this is just a rare occasion, and I'm still gonna be posting Destiny content on the daily. So just don't worry. But enough of Destiny talk, we're talking Nine in the Woods for the rest of the video. Now, I've been playing a lot of games other than Destiny this year, and it's been tempting, very tempting, to not make a video on them. But when I saw that nobody has ranked the Hangouts in Nine in the Woods on YouTube, I couldn't help myself at that point. Nine in the Woods is a very special game to me, and the best parts of the game are the Hangouts. The Hangouts give us some of the best moments of May with Bia, Greg, and Angus, but you can't do all the Hangouts on one playthrough, so I thought it's important that I rank the Hangouts in my opinion from worst to best, and I also of course thought it'd be fun. Also, I've beaten Nine in the Woods 6 times and spent a good amount of those times on each Hangout, and even talked to my friend who's beaten the game 10 times about the Hangouts, so I think I know what I'm talking about. Now, there are in total 11 Hangouts, not counting the small Hangouts with Gurm and Lori. Greg and Bia both have 5 Hangouts, and Angus has 1, so that's 11. Now, with all that said, let's just get right into the ranking of the Nine in the Woods Hangouts. And the worst Hangout, without a doubt, is Mechanics. By far the most forgettable of the Hangouts, and is just really boring. What makes it worse is that you have the choice of this Hangout or House Call. Like, come on. Why would you ever choose this Hangout? The Hangout starts with Greg giving you orders to destroy a car that has a tree growing through it and to collect its battery. And then when May goes to get the battery, she dies for 5 seconds and sees Sharko talking to her. But even that was forgettable. Like, you would think that would be something you remember about the Hangout, but trust me, this Hangout is not good enough just to remember even that. After that, May and Greg go to Greg's apartment, where May then builds her own robot, which is pretty boring. Then May goes to power the robot on, and she gets electrocuted again, and the robot starts moving, and that's basically the whole Hangout. Look, the beginning of this Hangout isn't bad, it's just not anything great. But once Greg and May make it to Greg's apartment, this is where things get really boring, and it's just hard to go through, man. There's just not much to be excited about or interested in, so I often get bored out of my mind. Unlike any other Hangout, Mechanics is the one Hangout that I think is actually not good. Overall, a pretty forgettable and boring Hangout. Next up is Crimes. Another Greg Hangout. Crimes is the first Hangout you do with Greg, and just in general, the first Hangouts aren't going to be anything amazing because it's your first Hangout with them, you know, so nothing too crazy is ever going to happen, but anyways, Crimes is nothing special. It's just not as boring and forgettable as Mechanics is. In Crimes, you do your first crimes with Greg in the abandoned food donkey. There you meet Steve Scriggins, who is not a likable character and is pretty forgettable after the Hangout. Anyways, you're there to get a robot head, which is later used in Mechanics, which you guys already know how I feel about that. Then, once you finally choose a robot head, you have a pretty intense minigame with Greg, where you carry the robot head upstairs to Greg's apartment. The minigame's cool at first, but gets really repetitive fast, cause when you make one mistake, and I mean one mistake, you have to restart. Also, you can get really unlucky and get repeated stop signs and backward signs, which just gets annoying. And once that's all over, you and Greg grab a bite at the Click Clack and play another minigame where you just throw food in Greg's mouth, which is just okay. Like I said, it's Greg's first Hangout, so not much is gonna happen. The Hangout just has a forgettable character, Scriggins, a minigame that gets annoying, and that's it. And I mean, the minigame is probably the most exciting part of the entire Hangout, and that can even get annoying, so that just says that it's not a very good Hangout. The conversations between Greg and May are as per usual, and Scriggins doesn't bring much to the Hangout besides to just be unlikable. I mean, Crimes is not a bad Hangout, just not much going on in this Hangout to rank it any higher, really. On my first playthrough, I want to say that Legends was my least favorite Hangout at the time, and now I know that Mechanics is definitely worse, but Legends still has its problems. The hangout starts with May and Greg wanting to go to Donut Wolf, and Angus comes along and drives them there. Everything seems fine, Angus is just being very quiet, but on the way to Donut Wolf they get a flat, and this is where things start to go downhill for me. When I first did this part of the hangout, I was like, whoa, because as May, we've never gotten into a problem where we were just stranded with a flat tire, and I thought we were gonna do something really cool to get out of the situation. And I thought the hangout was gonna take a huge turn, but that's not what ended up happening. What happened is Angus is just being an asshole and getting in a fight with Greg, and May ends up just finding a spare tire in the trunk. And shit like this continues, where Angus is just an asshole through almost the entire hangout, which is weird because this is just super out of character from what we know of Angus, but yeah, they get to Donut Wolf, order their donuts, and May goes to the bathroom to take a break from everything. And this little moment I actually really like because, first of all, I can understand it because sometimes you're having a rough time, so you go to the bathroom even though you don't actually have to go. So it's cool seeing that, and then just being able to absolutely just trash the bathroom as May in her frustration is fun as hell. After the whole moment though, it's finally time to eat, and May keeps trying to start a conversation, but Angus and Greg aren't doing much to keep the conversation going, so yeah, it's pretty boring to go through, and May just ends up throwing up from all the donuts she ate. But after this, the hangout gets, in my opinion, a little bit better. A lot of people really like the talk they have here. I just think it's alright. But anyways, the thing I think is weird is Angus all of a sudden isn't an asshole anymore. He's just Angus. Then May asks them like why they're being so weird around her all of a sudden, and the answer we get is, I think fucking weird. Greg starts by telling us about the sheep incident, which is really interesting, don't get me wrong. I just think it's weird Greg brought it up here and not during Crimes, when Greg was showing May his sheep tattoo. I just think it would have made Crimes more interesting, but whatever. The point Greg's trying to make is he failed the sheep just like everything has failed him and Angus. Then after that, Greg says that May has to let him change, which I just think is so dumb. But after that, the mood lines up and May and Greg do their first crime with Angus, where they leave their robot son from Crimes and mechanics, which I guess just anything that involves that robot is gonna be bad. I mean, like, that thing was in Crimes, that thing was in mechanics, now it's in Legends, like, jeez. But yeah, that's Legends, and I got problems with Legends, I'm not gonna lie. Like, in this hangout, Angus and Greg are just not likable, and for the majority, the hangout is really boring. What saves it though is the talk they have at the end, and when May goes to trash the bathroom, which are moments I like and are much more interesting than whatever the hell happens in Crimes and Mechanics. Dinner at Bia's is a hangout that went all over my list at first, and it wasn't until multiple playthroughs of not just Dinner at Bia's but other hangouts for me to realize that Dinner at Bia's is my least favorite of Bia's hangouts. A lot of people probably put Bia's first hangout as the worst just because it's Bia's first hangout and nothing too crazy is gonna happen, but personally, I'd rather do a first hangout than this one, and I'll explain why. So the hangout starts at the Ham Panther, and as May, you pick out the groceries for dinner, which is alright, and it's cool seeing May's dad at work. Once you pick out all the groceries and all that, you finally get to eat dinner with Bia and her dad, which is very interesting because you learn a lot about Bia and her dad, but it's honestly depressing. Now, when you're eating dinner, 99% of the time, the best reaction you can get from Bia's dad is that the food is just okay and that it'll do, but otherwise, if you picked wrong, then the reaction is that the food is just absolutely dog shit and they'll have to eat something else. So yeah, but that 99% though, the 1% that I'm leaving out is that I learned this recently, but you can actually amaze Bia's dad and Bia for dinner, which is kind of crazy, and I learned that recently. So you just have to pick very specific food when you're picking groceries. So I thought that was cool that they added that in there, but yeah. Then after dinner, you go with Bia to hang out in her room, and May and B get into a fight. Now, what I like about this hangout is all the things you learn about Bia, her dad, her home life, and her struggles, but on repeated playthroughs, I just feel like Bia's being an asshole to May, because all May is trying to do is help Bia out, but Bia completely shuts May down, and May leaves, and that's the end of the hangout. Yeah, the ending just leaves a bad taste in my mouth, and the hangout in general isn't anything great. You just learn a lot, and that's why people prefer it over Fort Luccene, but Dinner at Bia's is a depressing hangout, which I really enjoyed on my first first playthrough, but on repeated playthroughs, I just don't want to go through that and would rather do Greg's Hangout. While Fort Luccene might not get as deep as Dinner at Bia's, it's a hangout I always enjoy doing and is great for a first hangout. And like, first of all, I gotta say, like, this is a really good hangout. Like, I have to say that. And I mean, all the hangouts are good. Like I've been saying, all the hangouts are good in this list besides mechanics. Like I said, I just think it's just a depressing hangout, and it's a very interesting, and like I said, I enjoyed it a lot on my first playthrough, but on repeated playthroughs, I just rather do other hangouts. All the interesting things that went down in this hangout, it is a hangout that is very depressing, and I'd rather do other hangouts, that's it. But yeah, not a bad hangout, just my least favorite of Bia's hangouts. Now, I already talked about this hangout a lot during Dinner at Bia's, and now I'm actually ranking it, so I'm not going to spend too long talking about it like I did with Dinner at Bia's, but like I said, Old Gods of the Fort Luccene Mall is great for being a first hangout. The hangout starts with May and Bia entering Fort Luccene Mall, and the first thing they do is shoplifting, and it's pretty fun because one time as May you shoplift, and next time you're distracting the store clerk so Bia can shoplift something, so overall it's a great moment and I really like it. But after that, then you can explore the rest of the mall and sit down and eat together and have some chit chat. But after the meal, May explores the upstairs of the mall herself without Bia because Bia's just tired as fuck from working all the time. So yeah, May explores the upstairs herself and finds the controls to the fish fountain. And here we play a little mini game trying to squirt the people who walk by, and it's great because it's fun and you get to make Bia laugh, and it's actually the one point in the game where you make Bia smile. So a sweet moment to see and a sweet ending to a good hangout. Also, during the hangout, when you're just exploring the mall, I think it's funny that there's just a random guy at the mall when you're walking around, and he's just walking and then standing, and like, what the hell is he doing? Overall though, I like this hangout a lot. It's honestly perfect for a first hangout. There's nothing bad about it. I really like the dialogue in this hangout. It's just that because it's Bia's first hangout, not too much is gonna happen, so I can't really rank it any higher. Graveyard, in my opinion, is the worst of the 3 Ghost Focus hangouts because it's just not as interesting, fun, and replayable. Which means on most playthroughs, I'll just straight up ignore this hangout. Graveyard's not bad, like, at all, it's just that it's not as exciting as the other 2 Ghost hangouts. However though, Graveyard does have its moments which makes it better than the previous hangouts. One of those moments is when Bia just goes and visits her mom's grave, and May looks at graves to find the ghost they're looking for, and accidentally runs into the groundskeeper, and she asks him if the job pays well. It's a great kind of start to the hangout and sets the stage for what's to come. Then there's an even better moment, which I think is just the highlight of the entire hangout, where May and Bia walk up a hill to find the 3 weird teens and have to answer 3 questions to pass. The dialogue here is really great, and we get to learn more about May and Bia from the questions, which is always good. Each question we get an amazing answer from either May or Bia, and specifically I love May's answer about her dream date where they would be wrestling. It's just cute. I don't know, I like it a lot. And even better than that, and best of all, is when May says what her most embarrassing moment is. And you actually get to choose which embarrassing story you tell. You could choose a story from junior high, high school, and college. They're all really great, but high school definitely the best. In general though, this moment alone is a good enough reason to do this entire hangout, so it's just a really great moment, and you guys know that I played this hangout, so it's just a great moment. Afterwards, May and Bia find the grave of the ghost they researched, and nothing happens, so May ends up jumping on it in frustration, and May and Bia almost die because of a sinkhole. And in all of that happening, the grave surfaces, and this moment also is pretty cool because May and Bia are scared to death at this point. And Bia counts to 3, and May shakingly opens the coffin, and they both get jump scared. But yeah, after that, the hangout then tries to finish on a scary note like all the rest of the Ghost Focus hangouts, when Bia sees that they're being watched from out the corner of her eye, and then they run away. So yeah, I think it for sure has the weakest ending to all the Ghost Focus hangouts. Part of the reason I think it's the worst of the Ghost Focus hangouts, but like I said, it's got some great moments and it's a good hangout. Wounds is a good one. It has everything that you'd expect from a Greg Hangout, and Wounds does that well and more. The start of this hangout is amazing. The hangout starts with Psychos playing as May rides with Greg on his bike into the woods. No other hangout starts anything like this, and it's definitely the best start to a hangout. It's just a really nice start. I don't know how else to say it. Like, no other hangout starts anything like this, so you just gotta love it for that. But once Psychos finishes, May and Greg arrive in the woods and have a knife fight on a log. Now, the knife fight has to be one of the best mini games you do with Greg. It's just really intense and fun every time, unlike most of the other mini games you do with Greg. After that, May and Greg break a log together, and it's a really small moment, but I like it. Then after that, you enter another mini game where you shoot the forest god with Greg's crossbow. The aim is super shaky, but most of the time you can just hit your shot every time if you just keep your aim on his head. So yeah, not much going on in this little mini game. It's just alright. It's, you know, nothing even close to what the knife fight was. So yeah, just an alright little mini game, but after that though, May and Greg get deep. We get to learn a lot about how Greg and Angus's relationship has been and how Greg really feels. And at the end, May and Greg just watch a couple birds chirping in a little pond, and the hangout slowly fades out. And that's Wounds. It's my second favorite Greg Hangout, and it just does everything you'd expect in a Greg Hangout and more. So yeah, Wounds has a really good start with an exciting minigame and a great ending to a good hangout. The park is just special because the game just needed to hang out with May and Angus, and this hangout just delivers. And it's just the perfect hangout for Angus. It's of course one of the 3 ghost focused hangouts, so May and Angus head up to Possum Jump to find their ghost. The hangout starts with May and Angus climbing a hill, but May has to wait for Angus because he has asthma. It's a good start to the hangout, and I like it a lot. Now after that, once they make it up the hill, May and Angus look at constellations, and then they get chased, and the hangout ends. That's if you don't explore the river. Sorry about that, just coughing a bit, but if you do explore and found at least 3 of the little windmills in town and spun them until a message flew out of them, then if you did that, then you get to read the messages left by Boy Scouts with Angus right after climbing the hill. It's a cool moment, and all it does is make the hangout even better. Each letter you read is interesting, and I especially like the one Angus reads that says, "I'm super, super gay." And May makes the joke that Angus made that letter. Anyways, I really like this whole moment, especially the fact that you have to go out of your way to get to it, and I just wish other hangouts did this. Then May and Angus both take a seat on a log and haven't found their ghosts yet, so they watch the constellations, and this part is great. As May, you get to connect the stars and form constellations, and Angus tells you about the constellations once you connect one, and the music playing here is amazing, like all the music in this game, and makes this whole moment even better. Once you connect all the constellations, Angus tells you a story of how he was abused as a kid, and I just love how no matter how bad that situation was, in the end Greg found him throughout all that. And man, first time hearing Angus's story is just amazing. I mean, throughout the entire game you don't hang out with Angus that much compared to like Bia and Greg and even Gurm, but like hearing Angus's story, you learn so much about him and why he is the way he is. And for some people it might be their favorite moment in the entire game, and I could definitely understand why. After all that though, you have the ghost that you guys were looking for the whole time, just staring at May and Angus, and they try talking to him at first, but they get no response, so they're in kind of a dilemma here, but it's a good thing Angus keeps his inhaler on him at all times, just in case for emergencies like this, and he's got the good kind too, so they run away and the ghost chases him in a scary scene, so it's crazy, and that whole ending is just great, where we go from Angus's story to all of a sudden Hangout gets scary with the ghost following them, and it's just crazy. Like, first playthrough, I couldn't believe it. Overall, this is a very well done hangout and does Angus justice for sure, and a lot of people probably put this as a top 3 hangout, and it was hard not putting it there because just that first time, man, it's just insane. It's crazy, but like for me though, it's just not as replayable as the 3 hangouts above it, and I enjoy them more. The park's crazy, man, especially the ending. But yeah, great hangout, just amazing. House Call is such a great hangout. It really is. Definitely better than mechanics. House Call is obviously the hangout where you come along with Bia to do, well, a house call. And on my first playthrough, I chose to do mechanics over house call because going to work with Bia just didn't sound as fun as More Crimes with Greg, and man, just what a mess up that was. House Call, though, is just a great vibey hangout with Bia, and it's really sweet. The hangout starts with me and Bia arriving at Miss Miranda's house, and the setting is just perfect for a me and Bia hangout. It's definitely one of the best. But anyways, me and Bia meet with Miss Miranda, who is an interesting old lady that's definitely weird, but definitely adds to the hangout. Anyways, the whole reason they're there is so Bia can get to work on Miss Miranda's furnace, so that's what she does, and while Bia does that, May engineers an elegant long-term solution for the furnace, which I just love that, by the way. But anyways, once they're both done, Bia checks the exit, and they're of course locked in, and everything feels hopeless at this point. But in a great moment, May realizes that the one thing that Miss Miranda could hear was the furnace, so May does what May does best: beating ass. And I love this moment, just the hopelessness of the whole situation and how May saves the day. It's great and is a great transition to the best part of the hangout, which is the ending. May and Bea are drinking lemonade that Miss Miranda gave them, fireflies on the porch is playing, and God, it adds so much, and you could tell that this moment is what the entire hangout is hyping up, and it's amazing. The dialogue here and throughout the entire hangout is some of my favorite in the entire game. Like I said at the beginning, this ending is just so sweet and a vibe for sure. The amazing dialogue, the great atmosphere of the fireflies in the country at night, and the beautiful music with fireflies on the porch makes this a top 3 hangout. Now, you could probably already tell by this ranking so far that I like Bea more than Greg. It's no secret, I just find Bea more interesting. But Historical Society is a damn good Greg hangout, and God, I love it so much. Historical Society has to be the scariest hangout in the game. It's spooky from start to finish. It's of course a ghost-focused hangout, and in my opinion, the best of the 3 ghost-focused hangouts, and definitely does the best job in terms of being scary. The hangout takes place in what's basically a haunted house, and it's the perfect place for Crimes with Greg. It all starts with May and Greg arriving outside the Historical Society, where they plan to break in and find their ghost. The scene is set when it's pitch black dark outside, and May has to shine a light on Greg while he picks the lock to the basement. This moment is great with May and Greg's dialogue about being stealthy, and of course just the scariness of the whole moment, where you're trying to give Greg light so he can see, but there's weird noises behind him so you can't help but check it out. And of course when all of a sudden Greg gets attacked by an owl. It's a really good start to the hangout and immediately tells you that this is gonna be a scary hangout. Anyways, May and Greg finally get inside, and the inside is really fun to explore, especially with the fact that you have to use a bunch of different elevators to go up and down floors. Exploring the Historical Society is great every time because as you explore, spooky things are going on, but May and Greg go on, and every time May and Greg stop for some dialogue, almost every time, they end with saying, "Crimes. Crimes." You just gotta love it. And there's some cool rooms in this place, especially the map room. Things start to get intense though once May and Greg realize they're not alone. And it's just thrilling cause May and Greg have no idea where the elevator's gonna send them, and someone's always on their tail the whole way. This all comes to a climax when Greg and May take an elevator and it takes them all the way to the top, and Greg is desperately trying to find an escape, and May gets caught up in some weird art she finds and stares at it for a while cause May recognizes the art but she doesn't know from where. All the while someone is taking an elevator up to them, and it's super thrilling, and I'm at the tip of my seat every time because part of me is terrified like Greg is, and the other is wondering what May recognizes the art from. Just super thrilling and gets your heart pumping. Greg ends up breaking the window for an exit, and May finally stops staring at the art and runs with Greg down the steps. And while she does that, she runs past one of the windows, and you see the guy that was chasing them just watching May through the window for a second. And May and Greg eventually have to make a big jump down because the steps just end. Historical Society is just amazing. The hangout is super exciting, and while May and Greg aren't getting deep or anything, I love the dialogue between them in this hangout, and the setting just makes it all so much better. Historical Society is the last crimes you do with Greg, and it just happens to be the best. I mean, it's scary throughout the entire hangout, and so thrilling at the end. Historical Society is by far the most thrilling hangout in the entire game, and that's definitely part of the reason I think it's the second best hangout. The hangout ends with May and Greg reflecting on what the hell they just went through, and at the end of it all, May says, "You're a really good friend, Greg," and Greg responds with, "Psh, crimes." And May's response is, "Crimes." I love this hangout so much. I don't have to go through the entire hangout. I mean, everyone who's done this hangout knows just how well done it is and just how it's just a perfect hangout. There's so many moments in this hangout that just fill me with different emotions and feelings, from the dialogue with May and Bia and all the random people you meet and the dialogue you have with them, and just the always great music playing throughout. And the music stopping whenever things get deep. Like when May and Bia first get into the party and all of a sudden May, Bia, and Jackie are dancing and Psycho's 2 is playing. Or when May meets a girl that May's into and May at one point gives her entire life story and May even comments how she's never listed that all out before. Or when Bia's being fake to fit in and then May exposes Bia and Bia runs away in embarrassment. And there's the whole moment where May runs after Bia, jumping from rooftop to finally find Bia, just sitting on a bench, watching the river. And here's my favorite part of the game. The talk they have just says so much about what May and Bia's friendship is, and would they have even been friends if it wasn't for their constant proximity to each other. And I'm not gonna lie, I shed a tear here when Bia was saying that she has to dream to go to college, and that anything of her having a bright future is just getting smaller and darker every day she wakes up. And I feel for Bia and May in this hangout more than I ever have. And I could go on and on, but you guys already know. Proximity is special. It's not just my favorite part of Night in the Woods, but it's one of the best moments I ever played in a game. The hangout is amazing from start to finish, and there's never a dry moment. The dialogue in this hangout is some of my favorite in the game, and you could just tell the developers poured their heart and soul into this hangout. Every time I start a new playthrough, the thing I look forward to most is literally this hangout. I fucking shed a tear on this hangout. The hangout got me, man. It fucking got me. But yeah, great ending and just a masterpiece of a hangout. Wow, I spent so much time making this video and it's finally the end. We went through every hangout and God, I just can't believe it's all over. I've spent so many hours working on this video and I really hope you guys enjoyed, like really. I poured my heart and soul into this video and I just really wanted to do a good job, especially for Night in the Woods. But yeah, if this video does well enough, I'll make a tier list ranking every character in Night in the Woods, but that's a big if and I know it is, and this will probably be the last video I do on Night in the Woods. So if you did enjoy, the best way to show your support is of course liking the video. So yeah, if you could do that, it would mean a lot to me. Shout out to the people doing that right now. Shout out to you guys liking, subscribing, and sharing. You guys are the best, and I'll hopefully see you guys in the next one. Thank you.